Welcome to the new member safety orientation for the Southern Minnesota Sportsman's Club. The Southern Minnesota Sportsman's Club, or SMSC, is located on 64.3 acres of land just east of Rochester, Minnesota. An aerial view of our property shows that we've got a nicely wooded area with a creek running through it. Zooming out just a bit, you can see that we've got neighbors just to the north of our range. That's why it's vitally important that all rounds stay within our range. Our range rules are posted on our website and on all of our shooting locations. The one takeaway you must have from this class is that firearm safety is of the utmost importance. It's important for our members, their guests, and our neighbors of the range. You must follow all the rules that we've posted to keep our club viable and open, to avoid suspension and legal issues. If you see someone violating one of the rules, give them a gentle reminder. There's no need to be confrontational. If you don't feel comfortable confronting someone, ask our range manager for assistance. When you come to the range, the first thing you'll notice is the range manager's residence. One of the things that sets our club apart from others in the area is that we have a range manager on site to address problems immediately. If you need assistance, use the north entrance to the home. That leads directly to the range manager's office. When you come to the club, you will have a badge. This badge will identify you as a member of the Southern Minnesota Sportsman's Club. It'll have your name and a picture on it. This is a proximity badge. When you come to the gate, you'll notice there's a proximity card reader circled in this image here. Just tap your badge near that reader. The light should turn green. You'll hear a relay click as the gate unlocks. There's a notice on the gate there that says that eye and ear protection is required beyond that point. Make sure that you put that eye and ear protection on as you enter the range or before you enter the range. There's a mailbox posted on the gate here that contains waiver forms for your guests to sign. There's a plastic pouch inside with new waiver forms as well as a pen. Have your guests fill out the waiver form and simply put it back into the mailbox. Posted right on the gate is a notice that we do offer firearms classes to our members, their friends, and their family. There's also a whiteboard here in which we post notices for our members. Typically during the winter months, the sunset time is posted here in case there's any doubt. There's a sign here notifying you of the phone number for our range manager. If you need assistance, give them a call at that number. No smoking or flames are allowed within 15 feet of the firing line. The reason for this is that some of our members shoot with black powder, which is extremely explosive. Unlike modern smokeless powders, you can set off an explosion with black powder quite easily. So no smoking, no open flames, no flamethrowers are allowed within 15 feet of the firing line. No alcohol or controlled substances are permitted on our property. In fact, if you've been using alcohol or any controlled substances, don't come to the range today. Our range hours are from 8 a.m. to sunset, Monday through Saturday, and 9 a.m. to sunset on Sundays and holidays. Posted on the home page of our website is a link to the sunset times for every given day. Finally, there's plenty of parking, as you can see in the picture here. Located just along the trap range is a number of parking spaces. There's parking spaces right here along the road. You can park under the trees here, and there's parking under the trees in this location here. You and any badge holders in your family may come to the range alone or bring guests. It's open to yourself, your family members. That means extended family as well. Grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, stepmom. Bring your entire family out. And you can bring up to 3 known guests who are not a member of your family along with you. Any guests you bring to the range need to sign a waiver the first time they come to the range. Again, there's a spot located right by the gate to make that easy for you to do. When you bring guests or family to the range, we ask that you have no more than 3 firing lanes occupied, and they should be adjacent to one another. Your entire group needs to stay together. It is your responsibility to take care of all of your guests and family members. Pets are allowed on the range. They need to be leashed at all times, and please clean up after them. A number of people have brought new shooting dogs, or hunting dogs rather, to the range to get them used to the sound of gunfire. And finally, all shooters must be able to legally possess a firearm in the state of Minnesota. Next is a good video that demonstrates proper range practices and etiquette. Note that this is not our range, but other than a couple of items which I'll point out after the video, the practices should be followed on our range just as they are in the video.
Welcome! We're glad you're visiting one of our FWC managed shooting ranges. Now, we know that you're really excited, but before you get started, we need to run through a few general rules of the range. And these are just designed to make this a safer and a more enjoyable experience for you. Let's get started. Let's start with the basics. Now, there are 3 primary safety rules recommended by the NRA that you should follow anytime you're handling a firearm. First, always keep your gun pointed in a safe direction, meaning don't point it at anything you don't want to shoot. You have to keep the muzzle or the front end of this gun pointed in a safe direction. On these rifle and pistol ranges, that means downrange. If you're off range, then the safe direction is dictated by common sense and circumstances. The next safety rule is always keep your finger off of the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Ready to shoot means that your sights are lined up and you're ready for that gun to go off. Remember, until you're ready to shoot, don't touch the trigger. Instead, put your finger outside of the trigger guard alongside the gun. Third rule, always keep your gun unloaded until you're ready to use it. The only place a loaded gun is allowed is on the firing line. When you're entering or exiting the shooting range, your firearm has to be completely unloaded. That means that your action needs to be open in the chamber and your magazine clear of any rounds. If your magazine is detachable, it has to be removed. Then, visually and physically inspect the chamber, leave the action open, and the mechanical safety engaged. Now, with those 3 rules in mind, let's walk through the steps you should follow anytime you pick up a gun. Always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction. Keep your finger off the trigger. Engage the mechanical safety if possible. Remove the ammunition source, which is either the magazine or ammunition from the magazine tube. Open the action. Visually and physically inspect the chamber and magazine area, which should be clear of ammunition, and leave the action open with the mechanical safety engaged. In addition to the 3 fundamental safety rules that we covered earlier, you'll need to know some additional safety rules that differ depending on the discipline: rifle, pistol, or shotgun. If you don't see range rules posted, please ask us for a copy. Then carefully review the rules. If you have questions, ask us now. It's easier to clear up any confusion before you start shooting. No matter which range you're using, rifle, pistol, or shotgun, it's critical that you wear eye and ear protection. For children, we recommend earplugs and earmuffs. If you're at the rifle and pistol range, there are certain commands that you need to know and immediately obey. Following commands, which are issued by range officers, are really easy to understand and follow once you crack the code. All right, let's get started. First command, cease fire.
Cease fire, cease fire.
When you hear that command, you must immediately stop shooting. Remove your finger from the trigger and keep the firearm pointed downrange. Pistol shooters should also drop their elbows down to their sides. Wait for further instructions from the range officer. Now, every shooter should be focused on safety. If there's anything that you see that's dangerous or that you're uncomfortable with, you should immediately call ceasefire. If the range officer issues the unload command,
Unload.
that's your cue to unload your gun. Follow these steps to safely unload your firearm. Make sure your muzzle is pointed downrange when unloading, parallel to the ground and parallel to the sides of the range. Leave your action open with the ejection port or cylinder up. Remove the magazine and place the firearm on the bench with the muzzle pointed downrange. Another command you might hear is show clear. That means you need to show your range officer that your gun is clear of all ammunition.
Show clear. Line is clear.
Line is clear is announced after all firearms have been unloaded and benched or grounded. Remember, the muzzle should be pointed downrange, the action should be open, ejection port or cylinder should be up, and the magazine should be removed.
Go forward, score targets, and paste.
Go forward, score targets, and paste means you can walk beyond the red line to change targets. When going downrange, please stay on the walkways to and from the targets. And remember that access to the backstop and all areas outside of the target lines and walkways is not allowed. While shooters are scoring or changing targets, all others must stay behind the orange line, and no guns are to be handled. When all shooters return and no one is downrange, the range officer will announce,
The range is clear. You may handle your guns.
when reloading your firearm, remember to keep your firearm pointed directly downrange. You'll also hear the range officer ask, is the line ready?
Is the line ready?
To see if all shooters have their eye and ear protection on and are ready to shoot. If you have a problem, raise your hand and say, not ready on target 2 or 5 or whatever lane you're using. Once the range officer observes that everyone is ready for target shooting to begin, he or she will say,
The line is ready. Commence firing.
commence firing means that you may begin shooting. In addition to following all of the range officer commands, there are a few additional requirements to being a responsible shooter. One of those is that all of your rounds are hitting the backstop and staying within the confines of the range. You may only shoot from the firing line at the target in line with your position. It's important that you place the center of your target in line with the muzzle of your gun when your arms are extended. If your target's too low, your bullets might hit the ground. If it's too high, they might hit the baffling and ricochet. And if it's too far left or right of center, they might hit your neighbor's target. And trust me, they're not going to congratulate you for that. Remember that pistol and rifle ranges are designed for sporting firearms and ammunition. We don't allow buckshot, birdshot, tracer, armor-piercing, incendiary ammunition, or 50 BMG. Rapid firing and drawing from a holster are prohibited. In fact, you should allow a minimum of 2 seconds in between each round fired. This just ensures that you've acquired your target before you fire the next round. We also ask that you clean your station when you're done shooting. Please put your trash in garbage cans and spent brass in recycle containers. You may collect your own brass that landed on or behind the firing line, but please don't pick up other shooters' brass or brass that has fallen in front of the firing line. This range also offers the opportunity to shoot at moving targets, which really is just a lot of fun. But before you go out and start busting clays, there are a few general rules we need to talk about. First, as always, you need to keep the barrel of the gun pointed in a safe direction. That's really important. 2, you need to keep your finger off of the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And 3, you need to keep your gun unloaded with the action open until you are in shooting position. Now, a good way to remember that last rule is that if your feet are moving in any way, you're not in shooting position. So the gun needs to be unloaded, action open. When you get to each shooting station, place your access card in the reader. Before you load a round, though, the following criteria should be met. You should be in the shooting position, the target area should be deemed clear and safe, and your shotgun should be pointing safely towards the target. Only one person is allowed on the shooting position at a time. Everyone else should stay at least 3 feet behind the shooter. When shooting sporting clays, 5-stand, skeet, doubles trap, never load more than 2 shells in your gun at a time, and never load more than 1 shell at a time when you're shooting singles trap. The largest shot size permitted are 7.5s. That means that only 7.5s, 8s, and 9s are allowed. If steel shot is used, only 7s are permitted. It's okay to practice your swing, but make sure you're in the shooting position at a designated station or at a designated practice area. All sporting clay shots must be taken from the shooting position in the station your access card is controlling. Shooting anywhere else, including next to or in front of another station, is not allowed. In addition, you can only shoot the clay targets. That means don't shoot anything else, including the wildlife. All right. Now let's talk about moving from point A to point B on the range. There are some do's and don'ts. When moving from 5-stand, skeet, and trap fields or between stations, please stay on designated sidewalks, walkways, or sporting clay trails. Also, never walk in front of any shooting positions or clay target machines or attempt to retrieve clay targets from the range field. If you're using clay carts or ATVs, please don't drive any faster than a person can jog. A couple of other points. If for any reason your clay target machine needs to be refilled or is not working for any reason, then please let us know. In other words, never attempt to fix, fill, or adjust your clay target machine. That's our job. And when you're done shooting, please throw spent holes and other garbage into the trash cans. That's your job. Let's wrap this all up with a few general safety rules designed to keep your shooting experience safe. First, eye and ear protection are a must when shooting. Another way to protect yourself when shooting or cleaning a firearm is not eating, drinking, smoking, applying makeup, or putting your hands near your mouth or nose. In addition, to minimize exposure to airborne particulate lead or solvent and cleaning product residue, you should wash your hands, face, and clothes after shooting or cleaning a gun. Women who are pregnant, children under 7 years of age, and others who have concerns should talk to their doctor before visiting a shooting range. We strictly prohibit open containers of alcoholic beverages, and that means no shooting under the influence of alcohol, chemical substances, controlled substances. Look, if you witness any problems or safety concerns while you're out there on the range, then you need to let one of our staff know immediately. Okay, let's talk a little bit about range etiquette. Clearly, common sense, courtesy, they go a long ways to making sure you have a fun and safe time out there. So here's some do's and don'ts. Don't touch a firearm for any reason if someone is forward of the firing line. Do walk around someone's equipment instead of over it. Don't leave your equipment where someone else has to walk around it. Don't handle another shooter's gun without their permission. Don't let your ejected cases or holes hit your neighbor. If you have a question, don't be afraid to ask, because our staff and other shooters are some of the friendliest people you'll meet, and everybody is willing to lend a hand. So, take a moment, introduce yourself to the shooters next to you, because who knows, they might become your next shooting partner. Remember, we want you to take firearm safety as seriously as we do, so that everyone can enjoy the fun and excitement of target shooting.
All right, we're just going to cover the basic firearm rules that should always be followed, regardless of whether you're on our range or somewhere else. The first rule is to treat every firearm as if it were loaded. Keep the muzzle pointed downrange at all times. That means pointed at the berm. It's a good practice when you case your firearms to always have some idea which way the muzzle is pointed. Stick a piece of tape on the case. If it's got a zipper that only opens one way, make sure that you know which way the zipper opens, so that when you open your firearm case, you already have the muzzle pointed downrange. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. That means that you're on target. If you're raising your gun up and you're not on your target yet, keep your finger out of the trigger guard. And finally, be sure of what your target is and what lies beyond it. There are 3 primary range commands that you must know and observe. The first, and perhaps most important, is cease fire. This should be called out any time someone recognizes an unsafe condition on the range. Stop shooting immediately. Clear your firearm and place it on the bench. Not like in the video where they just had people bring the gun down to their waist. We want you to unload magazines, open the action, lay the firearm on the bench. We're going a couple steps beyond for safety's sake. Clear. This means that the range is safe. All guns have been placed on the bench, unloaded, with their actions open. When the line is safe, it's clear to go down range and check and post targets. Never touch your guns while the range is clear. Hot. Hot means that it's okay to handle and fire your guns. It cannot be declared when anyone is down range. Our range rules for ammunition are no incendiary or tracer ammunition, No steel core or armor-piercing ammo is allowed when shooting at the metal targets. We've got gongs and falling plates, and armor-piercing ammo will pierce that and ruin that target. Targets that are allowed are paper, corrugated plastic, or cardboard targets only. Attach the targets to the backers using staples. Tape doesn't tend to stick very well, and tacks provide a surface that can cause a bullet to ricochet. No ground targets are allowed. That means no bottles, cans, jugs, old fax machines, what have you. And no reactive ground targets, those little orange balls that you can shoot and they bounce around. Things ricochet off of that and they can go right over our berm. No targets with faces, political, religious, sexist, pictures of your ex, what have you. If you've got zombie targets, targets that represent wildlife, that's fine. But use your common sense here. Only one target backer per lane of fire. This is really only important on our pistol range where it's possible to set up multiple targets in one lane, and I'll show some images of that later. No cross lane shooting. If you're in lane 5, only shoot at the target on lane 5. Finally, clean up after yourself. That means take down and throw away your targets, sweep up all the spent shell casings, and throw your trash away. We've got plenty of garbage receptacles on all of the lanes. There's also brooms, dustpans, shovels, all the equipment you need to clean up after yourself. When you're shooting at our range, all shots must be aimed at authorized targets. That means you're only shooting at the paper or falling plate. No ground ricochets are allowed, no drawing from holsters, no shooting from the hip, no trick shots. A maximum of 3 shots in 5 seconds is our rule, except at the plate range. At the plate range is a special case. The goal there is to knock all the plates down as fast as you can. But controlled shooting is the key to avoiding accidents. Every time that you shoot a gun, you're going to have some muzzle rise. And if you shoot too quickly, you aren't going to be able to reacquire that target. Our range procedures. Concealed carry permit holders are welcome to carry concealed firearms, but you may only unholster them when you're at your firing point. You can only case and uncase your firearms when the line is hot. So if you've got a holstered weapon, that the same applies there. You can only unholster that firearm when the line is hot. Case and uncase only at the firing line when the line is hot. Again, it's a good idea to mark your case so that you know which way the muzzle is pointing. There are equipment tables behind the firing line. As you can see in this image, this is a shot of our 25 and 50 yard ranges for rifles, and you'll see some benches on the front. Those are where you're going to uncase and case your firearms. There are some shelves in the back that you can place your spare equipment on. Do not case and uncase your firearms on those shelves. The equipment tables on the front are for unpacking your gear and your firearms. The shelves in the back, again, are just for storing equipment. Here's a shot of the pistol range, and you can see the same setup there. We've got benches. If you want to shoot from a seated position, you can sit on the benches. And there are tables where you can case and uncase your firearms. You can see the brooms, the trash receptacles. There's a small 5-gallon bucket there for putting spent brass in. Finally, never leave a loaded firearm unattended. Now we're going to take a quick tour here of our different ranges, moving from east to west. On the east end of our property, you'll see there's a wooded area off to the right of the area that's circled in red. That's a buffer area that we own just to keep a buffer between ourselves and the homeowners nearby. The 100 and 200 yard rifle range is on the extreme east end of our property, and you can see the creek winding through there. On the left hand picture, you can see the 100 yard targets. There's a backer just in front of some large tractor tires, and on the left hand side you see the backers and gongs that are on the 200 yard distance. Rimfire and centerfire rifles are allowed on the 100 and 200 yard range. Also, muzzle loaders and shotguns using slugs or sabots. No shot shell cartridges are allowed on this range. Rifle cartridge handguns, such as a Thompson Center, are allowed, but no other handguns. Paper targets are also the rule here. Now we've got some pictures of our 100 and 200 yard rifle range. You can see the covered shooting area. There are some benches there. Some have a concrete top, some are wood. You'll notice on this picture, another shot of the shooting area. There are some sandbags located there. A copy of the range rules are posted. We've got the equipment to clean up after yourself. And in this location, instead of having fixed benches, there are benches that are portable or little stools you can sit at. Note that you can sit on the left or the right hand side. Here's a shot down range. This is what the range looks like from the shooting position. A close-up of our 100 yard backers. They're full sheets of plywood that you can staple your targets to. Here's the 200 yard range. And you can see in blaze orange up here, we've got some metal gongs that you can shoot at. There's another one down here, as well as several plywood backers to post your targets on. Moving to the west, our next range is the falling plate range. Here's an overhead view, and you can see there's a baffling system above the range to prevent shots from leaving our property. There are two sets of falling plates, or two racks. You'll notice there's a cable running on the ground here that you can use to reset the targets. You simply pull back on that cable and it will reset all of the targets back up. Notice we've got the range rules posted above the shooting location. There's a bench in the front for loading and unloading. There's a bench on the side, or a table on the side rather, that you can put spare equipment on. On our plate range, we allow revolvers, pistols, and rimfire rifles only. No centerfire rifles, no rifle cartridge pistols, no shotguns. Only non-magnum ammunition is allowed on this range. Again, this is because anything more than that is going to damage these falling plates. Do not shoot across lanes. There is now a fence between the two lanes, but it could still be possible to stand in the wrong spot and try this. Don't do it. Shoot only from the 33-foot firing line. This is located or marked in paint, and it's where you're standing directly behind the bench. Don't stand any closer, don't stand any further. Moving just to the west of that, we've got two 25 and 50 yard rifle ranges. This is what it would look like from the shooting location. Again, note we've got the range rules and instructions are posted above the shooting area. There's a bench there you can put your equipment on. These backers here are small plywood backers mounted to steel poles. And you can tack your targets onto these. There are also permanently mounted plywood backers at the 50-foot distance, which are much larger. Note the 25 yard backers can be moved from one position to another on a firing line. Here's a close-up of the way that's set up. There's a concrete strip with pipe set into it that's just a slightly larger diameter than the pipe holding up the backer. You can remove those. You can move them from one location to another. If you need to get one of these backers, there's a rack full of backers at the extreme west end of this 25 and 50 yard range. The backers on the right are new. If you've got damaged or completely used up backers, put them in the racks on the left. On the 25 and 50 yard ranges, we allow rimfire and centerfire rifles, muzzle loaders and shotguns, again using slugs or sabots, no shot shell cartridges. They really do a number on those backers. No handguns except rifle cartridge handguns. If you've got one of those, say a Thompson Center, and you've got a brand new one, you're sighting it in, you definitely want to sight that in at 25 yards, then 50 yards before moving on to the 100 yard range. We also allow handguns during sanctioned events. The main sanctioned event that we hold on this range is our Bullseye League shoots outdoors during the summer on Tuesday evenings on the West 25 50-yard range. And there they're shooting at a distance of 25 and 50 yards at much larger targets than we would normally use. To the west of the 25 and 50-yard ranges, we've got a pistol range. That's what it's typically referred to, but it's a handgun and rimfire range. You can shoot rimfire rifles from this range as well. Notice there's an overhead baffling system again to prevent shots from going over our berm. Here's a shot of the pistol range as you approach it. Note here that the rules again are posted above the firing lines, and notice how clean that floor is. That concrete slab is free of any debris, no brass. Please leave it in that condition when you leave. Nobody wants to step on your old brass. In this last picture you can see that the backers on this range are suspended from the baffles rather than set into the ground. These backers are also made of a thick rubber-like material that we found lasts a lot longer than plywood. It also doesn't leave splinters all over the place. These backers can easily be moved from different distances and from one lane to another. Notice the red paint on the baffles. That indicates a location where you can hang a backer. Also note that one of these lanes, this one here I'm circling with my mouse, someone has hung two backers in one lane. That's a no-no. Don't do that. They were probably just moving it out of the way, but if you're going to shoot on this lane, make sure you've only got one backer. The rules for the handgun and rimfire range are that we allow revolvers, pistols, and rimfire rifles only. No shotguns. You have a choice of shooting distances that you can hang those backers from at 7 yards, 15 yards, or 23 yards. Only one target backer is allowed per lane, and again, no cross-lane shooting. We have a shotgun patterning range. This is the one place where you can shoot shot shell cartridges on our range. This is located just outside the fenced area. So if you want to use the shotgun patterning range, when you come up to the range, you're going to need to come around the fenced area. Going to the west around that fenced area, as you walk down towards the berm, you'll see the equipment bench and a table where you can set your equipment. The target backer for this range is a piece of fence that's strung over a heavy steel frame. You will need tape to hang targets on this backer. Clearly a staple's not going to work there. If you notice in this middle of this picture, even the fence doesn't stand up to that shot for very long. The entire center of this backer has been completely blown away. This is the only place that you can shoot shot shell cartridges at paper on our range. Again, tape is required to hang targets from that backer. Do not use this range if people are using the trap range. In the next shot you'll see that you would be within the shooting area where pellets might hit you if you were shooting down here while people are shooting from shotguns from up here. The location circled here is the Minnesota Trap Club. Notice they've got their own little clubhouse, shooting areas, trap houses. This is a shot of their clubhouse, which they use during their events. On the right-hand side of the shot, you can see one of the trap houses that contains the automated throwers that SMTC uses for their shoots. On the left-hand side, you can see a mobile scorer's booth, and note the large lights around the clubhouse. These folks have no problem shooting at night. Here's a picture of one of the two shooting points. As a member of SMSC, you're allowed to shoot clay targets on this range whenever SMTC isn't holding an event. You will need to bring your own thrower, though. The Southern Minnesota Trap Club is located on SMSC grounds. They are a separate club with a separate membership. Membership in SMTC offers Trap League, and they have open shooting events. They use the automated clay throwers. They also run our high school trap leagues. We've had a couple of kids go through this program and make it to state. NPR recently did a very positive story on trap shooting, and we even got the NPR reporters to come out and shoot there. It's a very low price membership. I believe at this point it's $25 a year, and that gets you access to use their automated equipment during their open shooting, shoot in their trap leagues, and it gives you a discounted price on rounds. And finally, on the extreme west end of our property, we've got a wooded archery and airgun area. Here's the entrance to that part of the range. Note that we've got manicured trails here with wood chips to keep your feet clean from mud. There are notices here to let you know that you do need to carry your badge with you or have your badge hung around your neck here. No trespassing by non-members. This isn't a place that the public is allowed, just like the rest of our range. There are several trails that run through this area, and they have targets strategically located for archers to practice their skills. This one is just beyond the entrance, and if you notice in the middle of the picture here, there is a target backer hung up here that's at a 23-yard distance, a nice downhill shot. We have an elevated shooting platform to simulate shooting from a deer stand. Here's a view from that platform. You notice there are 4 targets at different distances. On the right, you can see that the trail goes over the creek and further on into the woods. On the trails, you'll see several notices like this that mark the out-of-bounds area. Do not go beyond this. You're either leaving our property or you could be headed behind the firearm berm. You definitely don't want to be there. There are several signs posted in this area for your safety, such as this reminder that says not to cross back over the bridge until you make sure that you have permission from anyone that's shooting off of the elevated target. There are multiple paths leading through the woods, lots of targets to shoot at there. There's the elevated shooting platform, as you've seen. We do only allow field point arrows. Broadheads just tear up those target backers terribly. Do not go beyond the marked trails or past the warning signs. This is for your own safety. Finally, we're going to head back to the clubhouse. Located in the basement of the SMSC clubhouse is an indoor range. It has 6 firing lines with rotating targets for use in precision time shooting. The indoor range is for members only. The exception to that is during orientation and education events. Lead or plated bullets only are allowed in this range, no jacketed bullets. If you have a question about whether you have a plated bullet or a jacketed bullet, simply scrape the surface of it with a knife. If it comes off and you see lead underneath, you've got a plated bullet. If you can't dig through it or it's extremely thick, you've got a jacketed bullet. This range is available for scheduled events only. The primary user of this club's range is our Bullseye League. As a member of SMSC, you can join the Bullseye League. They shoot on Monday and Tuesday nights from September through November and again in January through April. This is a league event. We keep track of all the scores. We've got range safety officers, and it's quite a bit of fun. You will get an email notification through the newsletter letting you know when this is about to start. There's new shooter orientations. You are welcome to come and try it out. We'd love to have you try it. The Bullseye League does have club guns and equipment, so you don't need to bring anything other than a good attitude. This range is open to members for open shoots. Presently on Wednesday mornings, I believe it's every other Wednesday, we have a group of people that shoot down here. They move the benches up from 50 feet to a 33-foot shooting location, which makes it a bit easier to shoot and gives them a little bit better ventilation with our present system. It's also open during education events. Remember, we had the sign posted on the gate that says we have firearm training. This is where the practical shooting is done. Let's cover emergency procedures. If you notice that someone has had an accident or an injury, or you've had one yourself, immediately call a ceasefire. Call 911 to report the emergency and provide the 911 operator with all of the information that they request. The address of the range is on a sticker on the back of your badge. It'll also be posted on the back of the range entrance. Note that you may need to go up to the gate to be able to get cellular reception. The range is in a valley and cell reception there is not very strong. We do have a Wi-Fi antenna behind the clubhouse, so if your phone can make Wi-Fi calls, that might not be a problem for you. Apply first aid if possible. If there's more than one person, have someone go up to the road and direct EMS through the gate. Finally, notify the range manager as soon as possible. Our lost and found policy is in place because we've had a case where someone left a firearm on the range and someone else decided to take it. We did get the gun back to its rightful owner thanks to our camera and badge system. But we did put this policy in place so that it is posted and you know what you should do. If you lose property at the range, contact the range manager, let him know what you lost, a nice description of it, and how you can be contacted. If you find property on the range, before you leave the club, take that to the range manager cottage. He'll give you a receipt for the property to indicate that you did turn it over to him. If there's nobody at the range manager cottage, call 507-282-9808 at your earliest opportunity, identify what you found, and a means to contact you. If you don't feel comfortable handling someone else's equipment, just notify the range manager of what it is and where it is, and he'll take care of the rest. SMSC will make every attempt possible to identify and contact the owner of the equipment and get it back in its rightful hands. We have information online. On the smsclub.org site, we've got a club calendar. It's a good idea to check this calendar before you head out to the range. We do have some events that require us to close the range. The DNR Field Day uses our range, and they'll close off the entire range for usually a morning when they're taking a bunch of kids through training. Notice that there are trap events in red and range events in dark blue. We also have newsletters, membership info, rules, and helpful links. These are all on www.smsclub.org. Finally, if you have any questions, any comments, please register and post it at our forum. That's another link on that website. Here's a direct URL to it. You can ask any questions, leave any comments, and we'll get back to you with an answer. Thank you for joining SMSC.